Hi there, welcome to the latest international episode of my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan is a follow-up to yesterday's conversation, which went on too long, and it includes the disclosure of a membership of an international non-governmental organisation that was founded by David Rockefeller, the banker, in the 70s, and the membership includes our current Prime Minister and Jeffrey Epstein. It's just mad that in the world we live in such a murky atmosphere, that these things are not well known. There's an organisation that I heard of for the first time over the weekend, over the last couple of days, after correspondence with someone that has given me a lot of information that helped me make the video yesterday. I'll put a tag to that at the end. And I was going to talk about this in yesterday's video, but yesterday's 10-minute moan went on for 20 minutes, so I thought I would just leave it to a video of its own. And it was about an organisation called the Trilateral Commission, which, at 51 years of age, I'd never heard of. But it's been about for 50 years. So almost my whole life. And it was founded in July 1973, principally by American banker and philanthropist David Rockefeller, who's an internationalist. There's a lot of things you need to pay attention to here. First is it's a non-governmental international organisation. It's not controlled by anybody. It's been democratically elected to look after a country. And I'm going to give you a couple of its aims, and I'm going to look at who is involved in this Trilateral Commission and have you consider what their true intentions are. Now, the Trilateral Commission, as I say, non-governmental international organisation aimed at fostering closer cooperation between Japan, Western Europe and North America. It's founded in 1973 principally by American banker David Rockefeller, who is an internationalist who sought to address the challenges posed by growing economic and political interdependence between the US, its allies in North America, Western Europe and Japan. The leadership of the organisation has since focused on returning to our roots as a group of countries sharing common values and commitment to rule of law, open economies, social and democratic principles. Which I find odd, because that's the sort of job of each independent country, not a non-governmental international body telling everybody that we should have the same social and democratic principles. Now, if you imagine this, so you've got all these separate, it should be independent countries governed by their own people. But this body, who's not part of any government, so they're no, democratically elected in any way, and they want to return to their original aims of having the same society and democratic principles all across big, massive bits of the world. That sounds a bit scary. That sounds like communism to me. And it sounds like it ties into a lot of conspiracy theories have this sort of one world global government type fear. And this organisation sets out to actually do that. That's bonkers to me. That's a sort of mic drop moment to me when I actually considered who is involved in this commission and their own stated aims, which is a bit bizarre. So, the Trilateral Commission represents influential commercial and political interests. As of 2021, there were roughly 400 members, including leading figures in politics, business, media and academia. Each country within the three regions is assigned a quota of members, reflecting its relative political and economic strength. Bit of history on it. It was formed 73 by, I've done this before, private citizens of foreign countries. The idea of the Commission was developed in the early 70s, a time of considerable discord among the US and its allies So trying to bring us all together. Growing interdependence is a fact of life of the contemporary world. It transcends and influences national systems. Are you listening to this? It transcends and influences national systems. While it's important to develop greater cooperation among all the countries in the world, Japan, Western Europe and North America, in view of their great weight in the world economy and their massive relations with one another, bear a special responsibility for developing effective cooperation both in their own interests and those in the rest of the world. So what we're now saying in a sort of buzzword-filled way is all these people are responsible for not only their own interests, but the rest of the world. So now we're not just trying to influence this big part of the world, North America, Europe and Japan. They're now suggesting that we should be looking at the whole of the world. It's getting a bit scary about a minute, isn't it? To be effective in meeting common problems, Japan, Western Europe and North America will have to consult and cooperate more closely on the basis of equality to develop and carry out coordinated policies on matters affecting their common interests. Now this reminds me of something I've said lots of times. Regular viewers will have heard me. But I find it quite bizarre that all around the world, these independently run countries are all coming up with the same ideas at the same time. And I've done for a while. You know, things like gender, laws against protection of illegal immigrants, the amount of immigration and all these things. It seems to be the whole world decided to have similar policies on a lot of things at the same time. Now we find a body who's set out to actually do that. Where are we? So we're going to coordinate policies, right, around the world. It's a bit scary. Refrain from unilateral actions incompatible with their interdependence and from actions detrimental to other regions, and take advantage of existing international and regional organisations and further advance the role. You can read that two ways, and one way you could read it is, we're here to take over the world, right? The Commission's hopes to play a creative role as a channel of free exchange of opinions with other countries and regions, further progress of the developing countries, and the greater importance of East-West relationships will be a major concern. This sounds like the evil guys club to me. It's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to decide, us who are no controlled by any government, any single government, so over and above that, we're going to decide what our three regions in the world do, but we're openly saying we're going to try and affect other regions in the world. This is like James Bond stuff. This is like Blofeld sitting there, £1 million, all that carry on, right? This organisation sounds like a fallacy, but it's not. And the guys, the three members that formed it were Rockefeller, a guy called Brzezinski, who was International Affairs, Specialist in International Affairs, and later President Jimmy Carter's National Security Advisor. I've got some other people here who were the sort of original group, and tells you all about meetings and memberships, how blah, 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 blah. That's your list of existing chairpersons. But they've got notable members, right? A list of notable members. This is where it gets quite intriguing, because one of their listed notable members is Epstein. Another of our notable members is our own Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. And apparently when Keir Starmer joined this group, he was the understudy to Corbyn. They didn't even tell Corbyn he was joining this group. So you just need to look down the list of notable members. The amount of people from US Secretary of State, Blinken, right? Bloomberg, Kissinger, ambassadors that you just wouldn't know their name. Lots of people were ambassadors, lots of people who worked for CIA. A guy called George H.W. Bush. Remember him? Member. Jimmy Carter. Member. But the most, I mean, I could read out loads. Director of CIA, a guy called John Deutsch, but people are watching my videos, very, very few, if any, would ever know of him. Another female, Heidi Krebel-Radiker, former chief economist for the US Department of State. All very former chief editor-in-chief of the Time. CEO and former Washington editor of Fortune magazine. So all these quite influential people, not only just influential in governments and society and business, but also the media. It's a bit strange. And then when you factor in a lot of things that are going on in the world right now, where you think, well, how come that direction in a government, let's take gender, for example. We had the Tickle versus Giggle case in Australia, and you go, that's mental, because they've got the same sort of laws as, they're trying to push through in the rest of Western society, all at the same time, right? You think, well, that must filter from somewhere, because that's not coincidence. The accepted levels of immigration, the breakdown in controls against asylum seekers, illegal immigrants, etc., all across the world. You kind of go, somebody's controlling that. These people must sit somewhere and go, this is what we're doing tomorrow. But now I've stumbled across a 50-year-old organisation that, by the way, don't even hide. And I'm not suggesting these are the people that are doing this and try to have, world order, their version of world order. But it is surprising that when you look at the type of people involved. Oh, and the CEO of BlackRock, right? And a WEF trustee, Lawrence Larry Fink. You can imagine the meetings, eh? And the one that's really, really his mentor is Jeffrey Epstein. Now, people in his game don't actually know where he created his wealth and his power. Nobody's sure. But he became very, very wealthy and very, very powerful. And then was obviously convicted of sex trafficking in 2008. He was a member. How did that happen? Right? People work for CNN. There's another one, US Deputy Attorney General. The names don't matter, because, they'd be like, and what? But I think it's bizarre. BlackRock, I mean, if you could do a full edition of this just on BlackRock, people that control and high-powered people. And there's another one from the Washington Post. It doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to go, that's a bit odd. So these governments that many people feel are coming up with the same things, or at the same time, but a lot of people feel that the media in a lot of areas in the world are very pointed towards certain types of politics. And lo and behold, they all seem to be a member of this, some sort of gang. And we've had all these people flying about trying to figure out who these, who blame the Masons. That's a favourite one of mine. Blame this, blame that. Yet this body don't seem to get the same level of concern. It's probably because nobody knows who they are. They've been about for 50 years. They've got some really famous people. There's Mario Monti, ex-Prime Minister of Italy. Do you know what I mean? Former European Commissioner for Trade, European Commission, Cecilia Malmström. Just some very, very... Judith Missick, CIA Deputy Director of Intelligence. Global Head of Sovereign Risk at Lehman Brothers. It just goes on and on and on. But don't worry. There's nothing to see here. And if there was anything to see here, because of the amount of connections I've got within the media, you'd never get to hear about it anyway. And the names look a bit weird. The people involved, very weird. And right up there, our own Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Imagine being in a club with Jeffrey Epstein, ex-presidents. I think there's 3 of them are counted in there so far. There's go, the World Bank president, he's a member. Chairman of Barclays Bank, he's a member. It's beggars belief. Oh, and there's Tories in there as well. David Willetts. A lot of people feel that the parties are a lot similar these days. Well, we've now found somebody who looks after them all. And it's something I forgot to mention here. The guy called Noam Chomsky, he criticised the commission as undemocratic, because it is, right, pointing to its key publication even, the crisis of democracy. Now, the crisis of democracy describes strong popular interest in politics during the 70s as an excess of democracy. Saying we have too much democracy. He cited it as one of the most interesting and insightful books showing the modern democratic system is not really democratic at all, but controlled by elites who seek to keep the general public disengaged from genuine democratic participation by subtle and mostly non-violent methods to redefine democracy into an operative terms that enshrines their own interests as a tiny, privileged minority. And that, my friends, is bloody scary. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe and notification bell. Put your comments. Love the comments. This will be an interesting one. The comments and this will be good. Most importantly of all, this is some of these people that want everybody else to buy into your version of how the world should be, and be doing that in a non-democratic way. Not you, but
everyone else. Have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.